Hello, everyone. Welcome to the class tonight. We are talking about manifesting change, and change begins within. So, this is, and of course, is what we focus on, right? We're here to meditate and to talk about, philosophy and energy and all these things. My name is Dr. Asatar Bear. My co-teacher here, Leah Schaefer. We're delighted to be with
Hello.
you. And whenever I think about, you know, inner work and inner change, especially, I just think about there's so many different energies, within us, right? Um, and there's, certain situations that call for a certain kind of energy, right? Like there's some situations where you just need to be patient, um, you need to wait, and there's situations where you need to endure, you know and then there's situations where you need to have the courage to, make a dramatic break with the past, right? Um, there's situations where you need the fire, um, and there's other situations where you need to be soft, where you need to yield, where you need to surrender, where you need to connect with people, right? And so, all and these it can be bewildering, right? To know, like, well, okay, I'm in this process, and what are the energies that are in me, and what are the energies that are being called for in this situation.
hmm
And we, as we are talking about this topic, we just sort of thought about, you know, what if we just take you through some of these energies, using some practices,
Yeah.
and and then see what you feel about it, see what you respond to in that, and we have some, that there's an ancient way of thinking about energy, which many spiritual traditions use, and that's the four elements, right? So, um,
hmm
there's different element traditions and whatever, but like the four elements are air, fire, water, and earth, right? And these are both like tangible things that surround us, right, in the natural world. But they're when it comes to spiritual work, right, they're about energies, um, and and what are the energies within us, right? And so the earth element is something that is like strong and lasting and orderly and all these things, right? And so you think about the qualities that go along with that, um, and are those qualities that appeal to you? Do they repel you? Are you scared of them? Right? Like we look at, like,
Right.
what is the response to that? Or like water kind of qualities, right? Like being graceful and fluid and adaptable, being flexible. Water touches everything, right? So the ability to connect with others, right? A water kind of quality.
Mm.
Um, and so and fire has its qualities, right? Air has its qualities, right? Being very expansive and visionary, right? You go up high, you can see a lot more. um, so
Mm.
our hope tonight is we can go through some of these practices, because we have these wonderful specific breathing practices that really, they're very powerful for bringing out these energies. And then we can sort of talk about this in general, and get a sense for, from experience, right? Like, what are these energies, and what are you getting from doing these practices?
Mm. Very nicely put, Asatar.
Thank you.
um, and so the question kind of comes in like, why would you want to do so many different breathing practices, right? And so basically, I think some people have heard of the fifth element, right? I know it from a movie,
Right.
which I love. um, but in any case, it's like this ability to access any of the elements like as you need them,
Right.
and any of the elemental qualities. And that comes into our character and our personality. And so basically, like as we manifest, as we like bring forward change or become or um, advance toward, as we try to bring things into form, we basically will meet obstacles with ourselves, and like we will meet obstacles with the outer world. And this ability to breathe through the four different elements helps our nervous system, our body, our emotions, our heart be able to like attune to the energy that will help us to meet whatever it is, because it's so balanced, because it goes through so many different iterations and different qualities.
Right.
Mm.
Right. I mean, we want to be able to take on the qualities that we need, or access the kind of energy that we need for whatever the situation is, right? Um, sometimes we need to slow ourselves down, for example, right? Sometimes we need to speed ourselves up, right? We have, you know, we know that
Mm.
those are different energies. Like a lot of people, for example, just have trouble going to sleep, right? This is an issue that can,
Yeah, I
well,
had that for a while. Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
absolutely. Um, or waking up, right? I mean, like, and this is, and we need to kind of tune ourselves to the rhythms and the energies that are around us, and so and we also need to be able to change those energies, right? Because we're not just passive, passengers through life or whatever, right? We're also like, we want to be active, right? We want to have an influence. um,
Yeah, co-creators. We want to
yeah,
create like, with life.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not here telling you that, if you meditate, then you get superpowers and you can do whatever you want, right? Not quite. You'll get some, but life is there's a lot of variables, right? So
Doesn't mean it gets any less challenging.
yeah, right. It's not gonna be less challenging. So it's like we I mean, you use a nice phrase there, co-create, because like obviously
Mm.
like our energy is incredibly creative, right? But we don't create that in a vacuum, like we create that embedded in all these other, forces and variables and relationships and other people and all this, right? So, we want to respect that, right? And we you know we, it's kind of like up to each one of us to know, or to feel, or to intuit, right? What is the situation calling for right now? So what we can help with is just
Mhm.
like some tools that have worked well for us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so yeah, the nice thing too, so another nice thing about the element breaths themselves is just that it's like by doing it, so you can do it in, we're going to do what's called like creation order this evening. And normally you don't do creation order in the evening, just so everyone knows that. But tonight we're going to do that. Normally you would do it in the morning time, and we're going to go from air to a little bit more, manifest, to fire, to water, to earth.
mhm.
Um, and just by doing those practices on a regular basis, just by allowing yourself to move through these different elements, it will just energetically naturally help you. It's like something about the breathing practices meets you more than you need to meet it in a way. It's like you're doing the practices, but there's so much that's happening that we're not really even aware of. So you can relax into the experience and just enjoy and kind of see what you like and what you don't like and what feels good. So,
Yeah, and also
um,
just as we go through this, it's good to think about what do you respond to, like in terms of the strength of the reaction. So rather than it being just positive or negative, think like, well, strongly
yeah,
negative is interesting, right? Strongly positive is interesting, like maybe if you don't have much of a reaction, okay, well that's you're not getting a strong reaction. But sometimes we encounter some energy and it brings up all kinds of stuff, right? It might bring up fear, for example.
hmm,
That's something we want to be aware of, right? So we don't want to like limit ourselves to just, is it pleasant, right? We want to, because there's not everything that happens in meditation is necessarily pleasant. I hate to break it to you, right? It's not all, it's like life itself, it's not all, um, chocolate and rainbow and unicorns and whatever.
well,
So,
it's a practice, right? And some
yeah.
parts of the practice come natural, and other parts of the practice you have to practice.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah. Mm. And that's work, right? It's like
It is work.
with it, yeah. So, yeah, and so And so, yeah, exactly. Sometimes you come up against, like you're saying, also how you come up against things that are um, not pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's an
yeah,
opportunity, right? Because we learn from that, right? Um,
yeah, exactly. It's like we gain more self-knowledge. And that's partly what you're doing through going through all the elements is you're gaining self-knowledge through the experience.
yeah.
So, all right, shall we?
Let's do
Um,
it. Sure.
let's begin. Okay. So it's a little bit of a complicated class, everyone, but just come as you are, and when you're ready, maybe close your eyes, maybe do some movements with your body to relax your shoulders or your neck. And so before we go into the first element breath, I'll lead us through the foundational steps of heart rhythm meditation. And so you just take whichever step is best for you tonight and leave the rest for the practices that will come. And so one of the first steps of heart rhythm meditation is to deepen your breath. And so you want to start to create deep, full breathing. And as you tune in to yourself and you tune into your breath, try to feel how your breath is energetically moving through your body. All the way down through your lower torso. And really try to fill on your inhalation, try to fill your breath all the way from your low torso, all the way up through your rib cage. But really filling up all the way toward the heart before you fill up anymore, and maybe even just stopping there. And then exhaling fully, completely by toning your abdomen at the bottom of your exhalation and really reaching for getting all of your breath out. And that makes more space for more breath to come, more fresh breath to come. And so just allow that next inhalation to come all the way to the depths, opening you through your body, even physically, because it's so full. And then again, allowing the exhalation to fall out naturally, but then at the end of the exhalation, really using your abdomen to get all that breath out, really making room for something new. And so this is this is the full breath practice, and you can just stay focusing here. I'm going to add on another layer. Um, so if you like to begin to breathe while feeling your heartbeat at the same time. And so you can do that by placing your hand on your heart, your finger pads on your heart, or finding a favorite pulse point. And so as you breathe, you want to start to really feel your heartbeat with the full extent of the inhalation, heartbeat or pulse, full extent of the inhalation, and the full extent of the exhalation. Good. And then here's another marker. You can stay with this part of the practice, just working on feeling your heartbeat as you fully breathe in and fully breathe out. Or begin to breathe in rhythm with your own heartbeat. And so when you begin to do that, you start by just counting, and you have to do a little bit of testing to figure out exactly what your number of heartbeats should be for your optimal breathing. But essentially, you want to balance the two. And so once you find that optimal number, I use the number 8 because it makes it easier for me, and it's good with my breathing capacity. Um, but you want to be able to start to breathe with the same count of heartbeats in as out. Good. And so hold on to whichever one of these um, stages have been really calling to you, or really just feeling really good this evening or afternoon or morning for you. Mm. And then as you're ready, we're going to move into the air breath. And so you continue to breathe deep, full breath, feeling your heart, feeling your heartbeat, maybe even breathing in rhythm with your heartbeat. And then we're going to switch over to the air breath. And the air breath is going to be breathing in and out through your mouth. And it's a lot like sipping in the air. And it can kind of dry out your lips a little bit, so you can always sip water as you need. But you want to really, it's very gentle. So even though your breath is gentle, it's still very much deep, full, and complete. And allow yourself with this air breath to almost soften your consciousness, soften your mind, soften even your eyes, and even the atlas right at the base of your skull, breathing right into the atlas. And so get this sense for yourself about what this energy feels like. What does this air breath feel like to you? In and out of the mouth only, but sipping the air and full breathing. Allowing for the spaciousness to come in to any part of you that's holding too much tension, any part of you that needs a sense of relief. And then attune yourself to the intention you have. Like, what is it that you would like to bring into form? And it can be anything, it could be laughter, for example. But setting this intention of what is it that you want to create or become. I definitely feel mine more in my heart when I set my intention. I feel it much more in my heart. And so, even though you're doing the air breath, maybe start doing your air breath right into the center of your heart. And just letting yourself dream a little dream, really. Letting yourself feel into that which you really would like to experience, that which you would really like to create. And allowing this air breath to help you open up your consciousness to the infinite possibility of life, of the cosmos. And see if you can feel in yourself or see in your mind the vision you have for what it is you'd like to become or create. And if there's any obstacles that you have toward moving toward that or starting to, mold the clay that you'd like to shape and form, if there's any obstacles that you know of already, either internally or externally, however you feel them in yourself, in your body, just take a few more air breaths right into any of that obstacle or tension, wherever you feel that obstacle in your body, in yourself, or in your heart. And just give it a little bit of that space, give it a little of that open potential energy. Breathing it right into the place in yourself, the place in your heart or your body, where you feel the energy of that obstacle living within you. Good. And then we're going to switch elements. If you need to take a sip of water or anything, go ahead and do that. And we're coming into the fire breath now. And so, fire breath is inhaling through a slightly opened up mouth, but this time exhaling out your nose. So, inhaling through a slightly opened up mouth, sipping in the air, and then exhaling out your nose. You want to keep doing all that good work with your breathing, connecting with your heart, connecting with the center of yourself. And as you inhale, you can imagine that either this flame or this light inside of you starts to form. And I like to imagine this in my solar plexus energetically. And so it can either be an actual flame or it can be a light, whichever one feels best to you. And it's right in the solar plexus, the bottom of the rib cage, in the center of your front body. And so every time you inhale, it's a lot like that light that you're starting to connect to now. It gets almost amplified, almost like if you were blowing on a campfire when it's just starting. And feel it deep inside you. Like you might think that you're tuning in deep inside, but even go deeper, like try to feel all the way back to your back from your front body. Like what is your spine doing? And then as you exhale out of your nose, that flame starts to rise up, coming up through your spine, up through your heart, all the way up like a flame, like a fire. And it just takes time as you breathe, but you can build the fire and build the fire, build the fire. But you can also build the light. And so if your attunement right now is more toward light, then you just imagine the same thing happening. Every time you inhale, that light in your solar plexus grows and grows and grows. And then as you exhale, it starts to spread. It starts to spread all the way through, up through your heart, maybe even out your eyes. And so fire gives you that courage. It gives you the ability to act and do because it helps you remember the light of your being, the light of the truth. And it's already inside you. It's deep down in that place that only you can find, and you can find it. And when you let that light rise up inside of you, it meets your heart, and it helps you meet all that you need to face, all that you need to do in order to become and create that which you really want to. All right. Maybe taking one more breath from your solar plexus all the way up through your heart, and either out the front of your heart or all the way up and out your eyes. And just looking at that which you want to move toward with all the light in your heart that shines. And then as you're ready, move your body and open up your eyes. Mm.
All right. Nice. It was really interesting for me, Lee, because I was just noticing, when we started with the air breath, I felt, you're breathing through your mouth, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so your mouth starts to feel cool, as you're breathing it, and that's just an interesting sensation, you know. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, yes, the air is often cool, right? Like the wind is cooling, and like it's suggestive of that on a sensory level,
Yeah.
it makes you aware of your breath in like a different way. And I was just struck
Yeah.
by how
Mm.
sometimes you're just in the breeze, or you're in the air, and it feels like it's just very purifying, right? Like it's um, and then I got a real sense of like sacredness,
Yeah. Good.
like when you're in a
Mm.
space and it just you feel that, like that kind of that vibe, that spirit, and
Mm.
so I mean, I think that's it brought it home to me in a new way, um, about what are these air qualities, and
Mm.
that it made me feel inspired, and
Oh, it's beautiful.
yeah. And I just think,
Mm.
this is like one of the really wonderful things about this practice is that because it's working with the breath, and because it's working with the breath in a different way. I mean, we breathe in and out of our mouth sometimes, right? Like, but we rarely do it in this way, like where,
Yeah, for that long.
yeah, for that long, or that controlled, that,
Mm.
because we're
Yeah.
really trying to make the breath fine. Like normally when we breathe in your mouth, it's like, or whatever, like we're exerting ourselves, or you know. So it just has such a different vibe when,
Mm.
I mean, it's just amazing like how variable the breath can be, and
Yeah.
how it can be tuned, and all of this. And so I felt like a lot of connection with that air element. And
Wow.
then when we moved into the fire, I felt, um, this is an element that I have a lot of, and so it feels
Yeah.
very familiar to me. Um, and then it didn't read as much to me, like it didn't, because it was just like, oh, right, that's very familiar, so, and this is the way it is sometimes, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
you don't have much of a reaction to something that is already strong in you,
Hmm.
because you're just like, well, I already know what that is, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like I enjoy it and whatever, but I don't notice it as much,
Yeah, it
like
doesn't have as much of an effect, like, whereas
yeah,
the first element, you had, like, a clear response, like, there was a
yeah,
clear response that made you have like, it elicited, like, a feeling of inspiration, so,
yeah.
that's great, and that's the kind of magic that happens with the element breaths. Yeah.
Hmm. I think, with the fire breath, I started thinking a lot more about, oh, this and that thing that I have to do, or like
Classic.
things that
Classic
I'm,
fire.
yeah, right. Because
Classic.
well, that's also fire, right? Fire is like, it's
Yeah.
power. The fire move forward, and you know, um,
Mhm.
it has this like rising energy to it, right? So, I mean, that's all part of the experience, right? Well, I think we want to work on that, like, you know, that's part of just understanding like meditation, and getting good at it, right? Is allowing yourself to embrace all parts of the experience, and not, you know,
Yeah.
not be like, oh, I mean, now I'm doing it wrong or whatever. Right? It's like it's all part of it. And I
Yeah.
think just also I'm so used to like being in that energy, then I just think about how to use it instead of just, being with it, let's say.
Classic fire person.
Yeah.
Mm. No, I love it. Well, and the thing is like that's one of the things about these practices too, is that um they're so simple. But the actual like elemental energies are so profoundly immense.
Yeah.
And because they're so fundamental, they're just like so fundamental to the fabric of the universe, you know?
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, like
And in
it's
ourselves
really
too.
hard to describe logically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's something where it's not that far off from it touches very deep chords in us. Let me put it like that. Like
Yeah.
the elements touch very deep chords in us that are so fundamental to us. And so even though it's so simple, it's like there's little magic in there.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be complicated, right? I mean,
Hmm.
and on the other hand, there is some stuff to remember here, right? So it's like just to review, right? The air breath is like in and out through the mouth, right? And the fire
Yeah.
breath is like in through the mouth, out through the nose. And whenever you're changing your breathing, right? I mean, like, because like if you're doing a fire breath, you're switching back and forth between mouth breathing and nose breathing, and that takes concentration. Like that takes,
Hmm.
you have to
Yeah.
remember, like, oh yeah, I'm doing this kind of special kind of breathing now, right? And like just even that, right? Even that structure keeps your mind occupied, right? You're like,
Hmm.
oh, your mind,
Totally. Yeah.
why am I breathing this way? Oh, right, I'm doing the fire
Yeah.
breath.
Yeah, that's like kind of that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun meditation bit.
I mean, your mind is going to
It's
wander
like
some, you know?
no, it's like you're doing so many things with your breath that your mind has something to latch on to. You know,
Yeah.
it's like your mind has something to really tune up with. And it keeps going. Like that's the crazy thing about it. So,
Yeah. And, you might forget, right? Like, I mean, your mind might wander so much, and this is common. So if this happens, you don't feel
mhm.
bad, but like your mind might wander so much that you forget about the breathing pattern altogether and you just revert to something other. And then,
Yeah.
but then you have like a good way of recognizing that that's happened because you're like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
wait, I'm not doing the breathing practice anymore. All right. Let me go back to that.
See.
And then you have that sensory thing happening again, right? Because it feels different. Like it feels different to breathe in through your mouth and then breathe
Yes.
out through your nose, right? I mean, like
Yep.
there's just
Mm.
something that's interesting, right? That's different. And I was also just noticing like how it feels different to breathe in through your mouth with a fire breath versus with the air breath because you have this period where, I mean, at least this is how I do it, right? I open my mouth a little bit when with the fire breath, breathe in, and then close my mouth and breathe out through
Mhm.
my nose, right?
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I think just the action of like having the mouth closed and then, focusing on, the breath going through the nose. Um, I don't know, it just feels different, and I feel like that's
Mm.
all part of it, right? Because we're trying to use the sensory body to help us get into the energy.
Yeah, totally. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. Um, well, should we go on and do our next set of elements then?
Let's do it. Unless there's anything else you wanted to say.
I don't know. I don't. I feel like we're just sort of we just sharing experiences with this, and if any of our viewers want to share, please put it in the comment. We'd love to
Tell
know
us about what you're going to manifest with all this elemental energy.
right, or even just what you're experiencing. Maybe you don't.
Yeah, or what you're experiencing. That's also awesome. We love it.
Yeah, we want to like keep it real, right? Because a lot
Keep
of
it
like
real.
it's easy for meditation to become, abstract and philosophical and more spiritual than now and whatever, right? We want to like keep it keep it real. Like what are you feeling? You know, what are you
Yeah.
experiencing? What are you getting? You know, um, not so much. Oh, I read this thing once about something or another, right? Like that's some other class. You know, that's not this class.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's keep going then, and
All right.
we'll we'll get back into our meditative posture, and maybe move around a little bit and uh, loosen up those shoulders. Um, and when you're ready, then assume your upright posture and deepen your breathing. So remember, we want to make our breath deep and slow and rhythmic and heart centered and full. And this is a lot to ask. This is a total reorganization of the breath. So, breathing deeply means you're expanding your belly as you breathe in, letting your belly blow up like a big balloon, and breathing slowly. And then on the exhalation, you're then contracting your belly, um, squeezing your abdominal muscles, using those muscles much more than you normally do for breathing. And you're slowing down your breathing rhythm so that it takes longer to complete the inhalation and the exhalation. And this gives you time to really savor and understand the breath. And you'd like to make your breath rhythmic and heart centered, and you can do that by counting the beats of your heart and the same number of beats on the inhalation as on the exhalation. So, like Leah said before, perhaps you do 8 beats in and 8 beats out. Or maybe you do some other number. The number's not magic, but you do the number that works for you. And lastly, we want to make the breath full. So, meaning we really squeeze out all of the breath, really engage your abdominal muscles as you exhale, really expand your belly as you inhale, and then even allow the breath to move up into your chest, expanding through the sides of your body, your back, all the way up to your collarbone. So that the motion of your torso as you breathe feels like it extends from your pelvis all the way to your collarbone. But it's very slow and controlled. And this is a discipline. This is an art form. This takes time to master. And as if all these instructions weren't already enough, I'm going to add one more, which is that we are going to do the water breath. And that means breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And try to do all of these things together. Make your breath deep, slow, rhythmic, heart centered, and full. And at the same time, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. I know it's a pretty tall order. So if you can only do part of it, that's okay. Like I said, this is a skill, this is a discipline that takes time to master. And if you are able to keep all these balls in the air, that's great. And as we breathe with the water breath, we start to tune into the qualities of water. The water has that gentle quality to it. Water merges with other water. Water flows. Water is graceful, fluid. Water connects, water touches things. Water is heavy, it has a falling energy. And we have many thousands of years of tradition and the arts as seeing water as being a metaphor for love, for connection, for unity. Because this is what water does, right? You put two drops of water together and there's there's a bigger drop of water, right? Water doesn't stay separate. It's like when you love somebody, you don't feel separate from them, do you? Water has that quality of abundance, of generosity, of joy. And water can be deep, and the depths of it can be mysterious. Water doesn't have to be all that deep before you start being before it starts being sort of difficult to see what's down there, right? And that too is like our hearts, right? Our hearts have depth. We all have secrets within us. We have depths in our unconscious that we don't understand very well with our conscious mind. But we can dive into that and we can feel it. And perhaps this kind of energy is what is calling to you, is what is needed for the change that you are manifesting right now in your life. Maybe as you do this breath, you feel like, yes, I want more of this. Maybe it feels really good, right? And it could also provoke a more negative reaction. I'll confess that I have had this at times, that I was scared of what's down there, right? So, whatever the experience, just breathe into it. Just embrace it, experience it fully. Each breath is a gift. Water is very purifying. Each one of the elements has its own manner of purification. The air purifies by its dispersing the impurities, like smoke is dispersed in the wind. The fire burns away the impurities. The water washes them away. And notice how each one of these has such a different energy. So just feel the energy of the water breath washing away the impurities within you and bringing new spirit, new vitality. Now we turn to the earth breath. And the earth breath is in through the nose and out through the nose. Now, this is interesting because this is the way that we normally breathe. So, there isn't a different pattern of breathing here. It's kind of our base, but that's a lot like the earth. We so often do we take for granted that the earth is there under our feet, supporting us. The earth isn't like the water, is it? Right? I mean, you take a pebble and take another pebble and put them together, and they don't merge into one, do they? They remain separate. You know, the earth has that quality. It's structured, it's ordered. Everything has its place. And sometimes that's exactly the energy that we need. We need to put things in their right place. We need to create order within ourselves. And just because the breathing pattern is not different, it doesn't mean we can't focus on and concentrate on the qualities of earth. So let's just think about what are those qualities, right? Think about the kind of strength that earth has, right? The strength of a stone. You can put a lot of weight on a stone, right? Think of the way that earth endures. Maybe you're in a situation that just has to be endured. Well, there's nothing like earth for that. What about the strength of the earth? Maybe you need just to be strong. Earth is very strong. It may not have the excitement of fire or air. Solid, dependable, reliable. Maybe those are the qualities that your heart is calling for right now. The earth also has deeper spiritual qualities beyond these prosaic things that I'm mentioning. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of sitting on a really big rock. You can feel the magnetism of that, you know. It's quite remarkable. So just consider that quality of magnetism, that force that draws things together. And let's think about it in a kind of broad way, right? Beyond the physical action of magnetic attraction or electromagnetic fields. But let's think about it in terms of drawing to yourself the energies that are like your energy, right? Or consider another often overlooked quality that the earth has, which is the quality of peace. How peaceful it is to have everything in its place. How wonderful that is. What an amazing feeling that is. Or maybe you've just lied down on the earth before and just felt that feeling. Maybe you've lied down in the sun, right on the earth, and felt the peace of the earth. If what I'm saying resonates with you at all, it's because that peace is within you. That quality is in your heart all the time. All we're doing now is focusing on it and breathing into it, giving it more energy, allowing that experience to open, allowing it to reach infinity. Because every quality that we can name, every quality that is within us, every quality that resonates with us is infinite. We're so keyed into life's limitations that we often forget that we're unlimited beings. Yes, there's a side of us that is limited and imperfect and impermanent and all this. But there's also a side of us that is perfect and eternal and unlimited and goes on and on and on forever. air, fire, water, and earth. There are four fundamental energies. Each one is within us. And as we learn about the elements, we become more familiar with our own energy and the energy around us. And part of this, there is a part of this which is a sort of philosophical, right? So maybe if you're interested in this, maybe take the week and look at things from the
Mm.
perspective of the elements. Think about what kind of energy is happening here. What kind of energy is this? Is this air energy? Is this fire energy? Is this water energy? Is it earth energy? Maybe it's some kind of blend of these energies, right? As things often are. So it's a two-way street here, right? You have an experience and then you interpret it, using this simple philosophical ideas, right? And vice versa, right? You also look out into the world and interpret the world through the lens of your experience, right? All right, well, we'll end our meditation
Mm.
there.
Mm.
Thank you very much.
Mm. Thank you so much, Asatar. Mm. That was wonderful. I especially enjoyed the earth element. And like we said, it's going to be different for everyone, right?
Right.
Um, but I just loved that feeling of getting nourished so much, through the energy, and the way that it came through you and through your voice. Um, the thing that really caught me with that one was the strength of the earth. I've been working so much I've been going through so much change and working really hard to bring my ideals into form. um
Good.
and it takes a lot of strength, and like that's the thing is like but when you feel the earth energy, you can feel how that strength is like actually holding you. you know
Right.
and so just yeah, so that was so nourishing. And I definitely had the feeling like when you were like maybe take the week and look at this. I have the feeling I was like, oh yeah, like I need to just do this every day for a week and see how differently I feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
that's
so
interesting
I,
because I mean, we know each other for a long time, and I know that we both know we've studied this for a long time, right? And
hmm
we
yeah,
have tried to look at the world again and again, right, through these lens, and it just shows you
yeah,
it's a road, right? I mean, like because there's always more to learn, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, because it's living. The thing is that you're living and the practices are living, and so the experience of each element will be different. Like when I challenge you out there to do this again tomorrow, and see if it's the same or different. You can listen to this again, or you can write it down and do it from memory. But really it will be different each time you meet it. There'll be
keep it running,
themes, of
keep
course.
the video
Yeah.
running, just mute it because we need the views. So, and while you're there, hit that like button. You guys do what works for you. You don't have to have us going to meditate, right? Just if it helps.
But you have to get the practices down, so you write them down or
Yeah,
something.
right, right.
Write them down so you have them. Um, but yeah, no, it is one of those things where it's just this is actually one of those practices you can't do enough of. No matter how practiced you are, it balances you, it cleanses things, it inspires things, like
Right.
all kinds of stuff goes on with it. So
Yeah, I mean, we're all strong
yeah.
in different elements, right? And it changes through our lives too, right? But we have like certain energetic signatures, right? We have elements that are stronger than others in us, of course. But that changes too as we go through it. So there's something to just balancing these different energies within us. And well, we have so much more we can say about this, but we're gonna end the class because we're out of time. But we are going to start a series where we're going to talk about the four dimensions of the heart. So we'll have a four-part series for the next 4 weeks,
Mm,
and we're excited about this because it's
mhm.
a really great teaching about the heart and your heart's energies and how your heart grows and develops.
Yeah. I mean, did you know that your heart has 4 dimensions? Like, how cool is that? You
Yeah.
know? So
So we're looking forward to sharing this with you, and we'll start that next week, and hope to see you all then.
looking forward and happy meditating. Thank you for practicing.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Erin.